Okay, let's come into a seated position. We're going to do some Kundalini yoga. So we're going to tune in, rub your hands together. We're going to chant Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. Place your hands in the middle of your chest, and this is connecting us with our higher selves. This is connecting us with our regular selves, and this is connecting us with the golden chain of teachers. So close your eyes, inhale. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale. Pull Mula Bandha. Look up at the point between the brow. Exhale. Adgudename, Chigadgudename, Satgudename, Siddhi Gurudev, Vain Namain. Adgudename, Chigadgudename, Satgudename, Siddhi Gurudev, Vain Namain. Adgudename, Chigadgudename, Satgudename, Siddhi Gurudev, Vain Namain. Okay. Let's come into a standing position. Okay, we're going to start in mountain pose. So feet together. Make sure your knees are over your ankles. The hips are over your knees. Slightly tuck your tailbone in. Roll your shoulders back and down, so you feel the expansion across your chest. Slightly tuck your chin in. You want to feel like there's a string being pulled to the top of your head. So stand up really tall. Evenly distribute the weight in the feet. So rock forward and back, left and right. So a lot of times we'll stand with weight and one hip more than the other, or one foot more than the other. So you want to evenly distribute that weight. So this is mountain pose, Tadasana. We're looking straight ahead, standing up really tall. This is grounding us into our body. Activating that first chakra, looking at the base of the spine. Put one hand on your belly. We're going to activate our yogic breath. So inhale, push your belly out. Exhale, push your belly in. We'll do that 3 more times. Inhale. And then relax your hand. We're going to do some neck rolls to warm up the neck. So bring your chin to your chest. We'll do 3 to the left. Just take your time. Make sure you're taking those yogic breaths. And then we're standing in mountain pose, and then we're doing our neck rolls on the right. So switch sides. Let's bring your chin to your chest, slowly to the right. Just take your time. So do 3 on the right, and then when you're finished, come back to Tadasana, mountain pose. So we're standing in mountain pose. We're looking straight ahead if you're already finished. Looking straight ahead. Roll your shoulders back and down. Feel the expansion across your chest. Slightly tuck your chin in. This is aligning our spine. You want to feel like there's a string being pulled through the top of your head, so stand up really tall. Let's do some shoulder rolls, so we'll do 5 to the front. And then 5 to the back. Then come back to mountain pose. Evenly distribute the weight in the feet. Rock forward and back, left and right. Hands equal by the sides. Okay, let's continue to warm up our spine. So feet a little bit wider than hip width apart. And we're going to do some hip rolls. So come forward and then come over to the left, to the back, to the right, and down. So we're moving the spine. Make sure you're breathing. Look over to the right, and then come back to center, come back to mountain pose, feet together, hands equal by your sides. And then from here, we're going to do eagle pose. So find a point in front of you to help you balance. That's called your drishti, your eye gaze. So this is a balancing posture. So we're going to bring our right arm up, then the left arm comes under, and bring that right foot over, and you're staring at that point in front of you to help you balance. Take some deep breaths here. If you notice that your hands are starting to collapse in towards your face, bring your hands away from your face if you can. If that hurts, that's fine. Just don't do that. Okay, release that. Shake that out if you need to. We're going to do that on the other side. So find that point in front of you to help you balance. That's your drishti, your eye gaze. And then bring your left arm up. Your right arm comes under. Bring your left foot over. Continue to take those yogic breaths. And then release your hands. Shake that out if you need to. And then come back to mountain pose. Hands equal by your sides. Rock forward and back, left and right. Evenly distribute the weight in the feet. Roll your shoulders back and down. Slightly tuck your chin in. You really want to feel the expansion across your chest. This is super important because we're always hunched over now on our phones and the computer. So it's really important, this posture, even though it doesn't seem like you're doing much. Okay, let's do half moon pose on the right. So inhale, reach up really tall. Come onto your toes. Exhale, come down onto the heels and come over to the right. So take some deep breaths and breathe into that left side. And take one more deep inhale. Exhale. Come forward. Release that. Okay, let's do that on the other side. So inhale, reach up really tall. Come onto your heels. Exhale, come over to the left. So feel the stretch all down the right side. Then let's take one more deep inhale. Exhale, come back to center, big circle with the arms. Okay, from here, let's come into our half forward fold. So inhale, reach up really tall. Exhale, come forward, bending at the hips. Take some deep breaths here. Let your head go, let your neck go. Try shaking your head yes and no if that feels good. And then slowly roll to the top. Your head's going to come up last. Come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Roll your shoulders back and down. Slightly tuck your tailbone in to align your spine. Slightly tuck your chin in. Okay, so from here, we're going to do neck rolls again. So we'll do 3 to the left. So just take your time. Bring your chin to your chest. Do 3 to the left. Then when you're finished, come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Then we'll switch sides, so do 3 to the right, just take your time. Continue to take those yogic breaths. And when you're finished, come back to mountain pose. Stand up really tall. And then from here, let's come into warrior two. So bring your right foot forward, bring your left foot back. Your heel is lined up with the middle of the left foot. And we're coming into warrior two, so bring your arms to a T. Look out past the right fingertips here. So you want to make sure your knee stays over your ankle and your spine is straight, so we're not leaning over to the right, but we have a straight spine. And look out past your right fingertips. We can activate this by pressing down on the outside edges of the feet. It gives a wrapping sensation, that like the muscles are wrapping to the back of the legs. Arms down, bring the right foot forward. Shake that out if you need to. Okay, let's do another half forward fold Uttanasana. Inhale, reach up really tall, come down to the heels. Exhale, come forward, bending at the hips. Take some deep breaths here. Take some deep breaths. If anything feels tight, just send your breath to those tight spaces. And then slowly roll to the top. Your head's going to come up last. Come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Okay, let's do warrior two on the other side. So left foot comes forward, right foot comes back. Our heel is lined up with the middle of the right foot. Make sure your knee stays over your ankle. Bring your arms to a T, come into your lunge, and look out past the left fingertips here. Make sure your spine stays straight. You don't want to be leaning over to the side like this. We can activate this by pressing down on the outside edges of the feet. This creates a wrapping sensation to the back of the thighs. And then take one more inhale. Exhale. Bring your arms down. Bring that right foot forward. Shake that out if you need to. Let's come into our half fold, Uttanasana. Inhale. Come down to your heels. Exhale. Bending at the hips. Come forward. Really take some deep breaths here. Let your shoulders relax, let your neck relax. Let your jaw relax. Shake your head yes or no if that feels good. And then slowly come to the top. Your head's going to come up last. Coming up one vertebra at a time. Come back to mountain pose. Feet together. Stand up really tall. Okay, from here, let's come into triangle pose. So right foot forward, the left foot comes back. Our heels are going to line up this time. Our right foot is straight, it's not at an angle. And then bring your arms to a T. We're going to inhale, come over to the left, and then exhale so you can stay here, or you can come on down to your calf or your ankle or the mat. You want to make sure that your arms are stacked on top of each other, and you can look down at your hand, or you can look up towards that right hand. Then bring the right arm down, bring that right foot forward. Shake that out if you need to. Okay, let's come into chair pose. So feet hip width apart. I'm gonna inhale, bring our arms up. Exhale, bring all the weight into your heels. We're looking forward. Make sure you're taking those yogic breaths. So you're inhaling, pushing the belly out. Exhale, push the belly in. a ragdoll. So inhale, reach up really tall. Exhale, come onto your heels, come forward, bending at the hips, ground the elbows and the knees. Continue to take deep breaths here. Then from here, we're going to inhale, come over to the right. Exhale, and then come back to center. Inhale, come over to the left. Exhale, come back to center. And then release your hands slowly. Roll to the top. Your head's going to come up last. And then come back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Okay, let's do Trikonasana on the right side, triangle pose. Your heels are lined up this time. Bring your arms to a T. And then inhale, come over to the right. Exhale, come down so your hand can stay on your calf or your ankle or the mat. Just make sure your arms are stacked on top of each other. Take some deep breaths. And then bring that left arm down. Bring the left foot forward. Shake that out if you need to. And then come back to Tadasana. Feet together, stand up really tall. Okay, from here, let's come into another half forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale. Exhale, come down on your heels, and then come forward, bending at the hips. So take some deep breaths here. In this pose, our head is below our heart. So our heart is finally on top. So this is a good time to see if your heart has anything to say to you, because when your head's on top, that's the thing that's in charge. And then from here, let's walk back into downward facing dog. So feet hip width apart, hands hip width apart. Drive your heels down towards the mat. And then let's come onto our knees. Let's come into child's pose. So take some deep breaths here. So your knees can either be together or hip width apart. And then from here, let's come back onto all fours. And let's come back into downward facing dog. But before we do that, you're going to spread your thumb and your pinky as far apart as you can. We're going to activate the hands here. Make sure your middle finger is facing forward. So you're separating your thumb and your pinky as far apart as you can, and then pressing down your fingers and your hands into the mat. This is activating all the little ligaments and bones and tendons in our hands and our fingers. You're not like gripping the mat, you're just pressing your hands into the mat. Flattening your hands out. And then from here, push back into downward facing dog. So feet hip width apart, drive your heels down towards the mat. So this is lengthening our spine. So you can shake your head yes and no if that feels good. Pedal your feet left and right. So make sure you're taking deep breaths here. Again, pedal your feet left and right. And then come down onto your knees, push back into child's pose. Take some deep breaths here. Come into all fours and come back into downward facing dog. Take some really deep breaths here, really driving your heels down towards the mat. They don't have to touch the mat, but you can feel the stretch deeper if you try driving your heels down towards the mat. This is really lengthening the spine, taking some of the weight out of the wrists, pushing back. Take some deep breaths here. And then look forward, and then we're going to bring our right leg across into pigeon pose. So just send your breath to the tight spaces that you feel. Just make sure you continue to take those yogic breaths. And then let's release that. And then from here, let's push back into downward facing dog again. Pedal your feet left and right. Take some really deep breaths. This time look up at your navel. Drive your heels down towards the mat. And then look forward, bring the left foot across into half pigeon pose. Again, if anything feels tight, just send your breath to those tight spaces.
Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re har 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 re har 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 ram. Sa re sa 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 re sa 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 re sa 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 ram. Har re har 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 re.
Let's release that. And then let's come onto our heels. We're going to come into reclined hero pose. So you can, this is stretching the tops of the thighs. So if you want, you can stay here. If you can feel a stretch there, that's fine. Or you can come down to the mat. If that's too much, then come back up to the top. You just want to feel the stretch in the top of the thighs. If your back muscles are too tight or if your thighs are too tight, you may have to come up a little bit. Doesn't matter how far down you go, you just want to feel the stretch in the top of the thighs. And then using your forearms to come out of this posture, come back to up to the top, and then let's come into folded leaf. Let's come forward. Let your shoulders roll, just really rounding your back. Palms face up. And then inhale, come back to a seated position. Exhale, let's come onto our bottoms. And then let's come into cobbler pose. So feet together, sit up really tall, inhale. Exhale, you can stay here, you can come forward. Take some deep breaths here. Let's come up into a seated position and let's come into Shavasana. So come onto your backs. Let your palms face up. Let your feet fall to each side. And then go ahead and take 5 yogic breaths on your own. So inhale, push your belly out. Exhale, push your belly in. Keep your attention on your breath. As you inhale, follow the breath down the nose, into the belly. And then as you exhale, follow it back up through the nose. Notice that your mind has started to wander. Just bring your attention back to the breath. Notice that your mind has been caught up in thought. Just make a note to yourself thinking, and then gently come back to the breath. Notice that your mind has started to wander again. Just gently, without any judgment or getting frustrated, just gently come back to the breath. Focus on the inhale, down to your belly, exhale, coming out through the nose. gently start to wiggle your fingers and toes. And then bring your arm up over your head and roll over onto your side. Then come up into a seated position. Bring your hands to your heart. We'll chant Sat Nam one time to end our class. So inhale. Sat Nam. Sat Nam.